Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. There are comments that the Warriors will not make a big deal for a star, and that this has been debated among executives. Curry, Draymond Green and Warriors coach Steve Kerr have all been vocal on the issue lately, suggesting that Golden State shouldn't sacrifice the future for now. While these sentiments are appealing to those around him, they seem like a waste for the championship window that may still exist around their aging superstar. Warriors want to sign big man from Utah Jazz. While the Warriors may not strike gold by landing a high-motor Utah Jazz forward, they could inch closer to contention. The Utah Jazz are headed to the bottom of the NBA draft lottery this season but have had several bright spots on the roster, fadeaway world's Ashan Bhattacharya wrote Saturday. One of them is John Collins, who the team acquired in 2023 as a redemption project from the Atlanta Hawks after being considered one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Now, Collins is averaging 17.9 points and 8.3 rebounds as a multi-positional forward and small ball center. His contract has 2 years left and isn't looking as bad, with the fewer years and the general cap spikes in the NBA making it a more palatable deal. His production is living up to that this season, especially with his 43.8% shooting from three. He is a vertical threat on offense who can shoot threes while also being a high-energy three-level defender. The Warriors send out a package of solid veterans, whom the Jazz can easily flip for additional assets, alongside receiving 2 picks. Collins' contract is better, but not many contenders will be willing to make the sacrifices required to acquire him. The Warriors don't have a second-star contract and can use this as a short-term deal to make the squad competitive. Bhattacharya's trade proposal would send Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II, Kevin Looney, a 2026 second-round pick, and a 2028 second-round pick to the Jazz for Collins. The Jazz's 2024-25 campaign has been a mess from start to finish, but the franchise does possess talented assets with bright futures in the league. Collins, a bouncy 27-year-old forward with an improved perimeter jumper, is one of the most impactful contributors on the Jazz's roster. The former Atlanta Hawk averages nearly 20 points on better than 40% long-range shooting on a Jazz club hoping to finish first in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. The Warriors are looking for a groundbreaking acquisition, but with the franchise rapidly declining and Hield's production taking a massive hit, Bhattacharya's trade idea isn't off base. Stephen Curry sends message to Warriors front office, he won't accept an average team. Stephen Curry spoke after the Golden State Warriors won against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and made his intentions and his future demands clear. After the Golden State Warriors defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves 116-115, Stephen Curry spoke after the game and made his expectations clear. He told reporters that anyone who expects him to be happy being on an average team doesn't know him well enough at all. This was Curry's way of sending a message to the Warriors front office. Reporter, you're obviously aware of what has been a national talking point over the last couple of days. Does that provide any extra motivation? Stephen Curry, not at all. I'm always motivated to compete, try to win, and do my job. When you're in a situation like our organization is in, where everything is rightfully compared to that championship expectation, everything is being microanalyzed. You forget the part when we talk about how we're always trying to get better. What does that actually mean? It's obviously not our job to worry about that on a day-to-day basis. These 3 weeks before the trade deadline, our job is to win as many games as possible. Thankfully, we got one tonight. Reporter, Steve mentioned that he felt like the narrative would become that you guys were waving the white flag. Were you surprised that's how it was taken, and is there any clarification you want to give on that aspect? Curry, anybody who thinks I'm okay with being on an average basketball team is insane. Take whatever I said, I still stand on it. But that doesn't mean you're not in a situation where you're trying to get better and make appropriate moves that help you do that. Mike Dunleavy Jr. knows that, we talk about it. That's the expectation from me trying to help lead the team where we want to go. Again, that doesn't mean that you're reckless. What people's definition of that is that trade machines are fun, but that's not actually what it looks like. We're going to handle our business, Mike is going to handle his, and we'll see where we end up. There had been a lot of chatter about the Golden State Warriors waving the white flag after what has been a very difficult first half of the season. But Curry wanted to dispel that notion, showing that he still has his competitive fire burning, and wants to play at the highest level and compete for the richest prizes in the NBA. That's not all Stephen Curry had to say, as he also spoke to ESPN right after the Warriors won their game. He called out fans, analysts, and critics who kept urging and demanding that the Warriors make a trade soon to save their season, and added that he and the current group of Warriors players want to compete at the highest level and are very confident in their ability to do so. All the Twitter fingers who got deals we need to make can kind of shut up a little bit and let us figure this thing out. We know we can be competitive. We showed that toughness tonight. Every team is trying to find ways to get better. For us, we've been great for a very long time. This is just a unique year where we have to be able to stay relevant and give ourselves a chance, just have some life in a playoff series. We have a whole lot of confidence that we can beat anybody. With the frustration that Curry expressed in his post-game comments, fans might worry if the former MVP wants a move out of Golden State. Well, fear not, Deb Nation, as Steve Kerr stated that he doesn't expect Curry to ever demand a trade and remain a Warrior for life. Warriors Steve Kerr lays out Plan 4 last couple of years. When Steve Kerr took over for Mark Jackson, who had just helped the Golden State Warriors to a 51-31 record, there were high expectations. The former point guard met the challenge head-on, winning a championship in his first season as head coach. With schemes that revolutionized the game, he's one of the primary reasons that they've been able to build a dynasty. Yet, even he knows that every empire must fall. Every king has his reign. Warriors Steve Kerr lays out Plan 4 last couple of years. As Kerr looks ahead to these last couple of years, all he knows is how he wants the team to comport themselves. I think it's really important these last couple of years that we handle ourselves with dignity and competitiveness and fight for everything, he says, per The Athletic's Anthony Slater. We want to maintain what has made us the Warriors, what's made us into this organization. What that means is that the Warriors, a star that's dwindling, has accepted its fate. However, they're hoping for a reincarnation. Only time will tell whether they achieve the success that Kerr has had with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, and Kevin Durant. Nevertheless, they can't forget the way that they built their imperial dynasty. It was primarily organic, through the NBA draft. That's the hard part in addressing all this stuff, Kerr adds. We're not giving in. But you have to be realistic organizationally about where you are. And you have to mind what's coming ahead in the future. I probably won't be around, but I would tell you, if this organization gave away the next 6 or 7 drafts for a wild swing, that would be the most irresponsible thing that they could do. Doing right by Stephen Curry. Kerr's comments have been echoed by his players. The sentiment has been felt among segments of their raucous fan base. There's impatience though. A sense of entitlement. An expectation that the Warriors should be a juggernaut every season. This has led to the type of frustration that could lead to an act of desperation. After all, they want to do right by players like Curry, who has helped give the franchise a prestige they might not have ever imagined. Who's been left exasperated by their seesaw season? This is a tricky spot, Kerr admits. Mike Dunleavy Jr. is incredibly sharp. We have a great organization. I have no doubt Mike will navigate it, and I'll help any way I can. We've got to try to give Steph every chance he has to perform. That's really important these last few years, whatever that means. But you don't give away the future. Life after Stephen Curry. So far, the Warriors have identified 3 players that they believe can be part of their long-term plans: Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, and Moses Moody. As with most young players, they've all been inconsistent. As with most players in general, they need to refine their game. Nonetheless, they all have a skill set that could be useful in the future. Kuminga is a star-caliber scoring-minded forward who plays with brute force offensively. His physical tools also give him a high defensive upside. Podziemski is a jack-of-all-trades who can be a part of the team's connective tissue. Moody is a 3-and-D wing whose best attribute may be that he's a true team player.